when Wendell was a game warden. But my story is this. You were a baby. Me and your daddy had bought that house that Daddy built down there, by Nanny and Papa. It was my first time to cook Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
And Wendell wasn't married. He was between wives. And so I had told Mother, Nanny and Papa didn't come, but Mother and Daddy were coming, and me and your daddy, and you and Angie, and Uncle Wendell. I invited Uncle Wendell to come eat with us.
Yeah.
So we were sitting there in the kitchen, and I'd made my first pecan pie. I never was very good at making pecan pies, but I'd made my first pecan pie ever. And it was dessert time, and he was sitting over at the end. He was at this end, the head of the table. Daddy was at this head of the table. I don't know where your daddy was, somewhere in between. And Wendell started eating this pecan pie, and he said, I asked him if he remembered this when I went to see him in October. He said he did, but I don't believe he did. And he just went to shaking his head, and he said, my. He said, that pecan pie is so sweet, it just makes you want to slap the person sitting next to you. I'll never forget that. I was so embarrassed because I put way too much sugar in it. He said, that just makes me want to slap the person sitting next to me. It's too sweet. Yeah, it just really got my goat though, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. And I told him up there that day, I said, that just killed me. I worked so hard on that meal. Of course, that was just like a Jackson to hurt your feelings real bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Tony's
anyway.
worst of all that I've heard.
Huh?
Tony's worst.
Well, you never were around Wendell and Skeet too much. Boy, I'm telling you. Wendell was bad. Skeet's bad too. Daddy wasn't near as bad as they are. But Butch was telling me a story last night. He said that they were going to go fishing on Millwood. And Wendell was working. He had his game warden suit on, you know.
Yeah.
And he had to work a while, but they were going to pick out a good place to fish. And when they started to Millwood, they run into somebody that said, and they asked him if they was catching fish, and you know, you can catch so many and then it's against the law, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And Wendell was real bad to arrest people. He'd count their fish and arrest them. Well, he asked this guy about his fish, and he said, well, I hadn't got that many, but he said, the sheriff of Little River County is out there somewhere on the bend, around the bend or something. And he said, let me tell you, he's got way more than he ought to have. He's got somebody fishing with him, and they are hauling in the crappie. So Butch said they trolled over there to where the sheriff of Little River County, which is Ashdown, was, and Wendell got over there and he said, y'all catching any fish? And they said, well, we've caught a few. And Wendell got up and he said, let me see what you caught. I don't know if he gets in their boat. I don't know how they do this, you know. But anyway, he was checking their fish out. And he says, man, he said, you men got way over your limit here. And the sheriff of Little River County got real smart with him. And he said, no, we ain't got over our limit. And he just started making smart remarks. And when Wendell said, now, listen, do you know who you're talking to? And he said, yeah, I know who I'm talking to. You're the game warden, you're Wendell Jackson. But I ain't got over my limit. And he said, if I've got over my limit, what do you think it's going to cost me? And Wendell said, I can tell you exactly what it's going to cost you, $4,000 from what I'm looking at. And that sheriff hollered out. They were close enough that he could call out to his trailer or wherever, cabin or something. And he hollered out for his wife. And he said, bring me my checkbook out here. And it made Wendell so mad. He took that sheriff and his buddy and put him in jail in Ashdown. Because he got smart with him. And he was just going to pay him $4,000 to keep fishing, you know.
Yeah.
It was being a smart aleck.
Yeah.
So Wendell just arrested him right there and took the sheriff of Little River County And he told Butch, he said, come on. He said, I'm fixing to take them in. I'm going to lock them up. They're going to jail. So he took them and he put them in jail at Little River County. We got all his paperwork done and everything. Butch was sitting back outside in the pickup waiting on him. He come out there and he said, now let's go fishing. We'll go back over there where they were. And he said they went over there and he said, we caught 1,000 crappie. He said, that's what Wendell used to do. He'd run people off. He watched to see where they were catching them. He'd give them a ticket or put them in jail for breaking the law. And then he'd go back and he'd catch all the fish in that spot.
Yeah, it's funny.
It was a funny
I've
episode.
heard, Dad tell me some stories about it.
I'm
Well,
making you
We
nervous.
called him Red.
Yeah. I think he finally was fired from the state. I don't think he just retired. I believe he kept being such a smart aleck that they finally fired him, is what I've always believed. I think Daddy told me that.